Good afternoon, morning, evening, or whenever you're watching. Embrace the journey. This is video update number 9. It is Friday afternoon, September 13th. Friday the 13th. Lucky number 13. You know that this is going to be a great day. All right, let's get on with the update. Number 1, the first is the quick hit from Statistica, email I get every day because I love stats. I thought this one was interesting. It maps out customer confidence over about the last 20 years. As you can see, in the normal or kind of average would be in the 90, between 90 and 100. In the recession time, you see that it even dipped below 60. This is from a monthly survey that's done of over 500 consumers in the U.S. That builds this index of consumer sentiment. What's interesting is that we've heard a lot more about potential recession. You may have heard of the interest rate inversion, where short-term interest rates are actually higher than long-term interest rates. They usually compare either a 3-month to the 10-year or a 2-year to the 10-year, and that is usually happens anywhere from 6 to 18 months before recession hits. So there's been this talk about recession, and I was kind of wondering how that affects customer confidence and whether all of this talk starts actually making reality, right? So in August of 2019, there was a pretty significant drop down to a number as low as we've seen in the last 3 years. So do you think there's going to be a recession? I mean, we live in cycles, right? So it's probably not if, it's when and how deep. Is for you, is it 2020, 2021? Can we even go further without a recession? But people's psyche that shows up in this customer confidence also affects all of us at work and everything else. So I think it's interesting to pay attention to what's happening on the in the market, in the world, about that kind of psyche of optimism versus the opposite of that. All right, let's move into the industry update. I was lucky enough to be invited to Chicago this week. We had a 1.5-day session. There are about 23 or 24, I think, experts from across the country and Canada. It included people from evaluation and program design companies to utilities, administrators and implementers like Franklin Energy, and other supporting organizations like eSource really led the setup of this, ACEEE and others. Very interesting. They call it really a design charrette. If you look at what Democratic candidates are putting out in front on potential plans for carbon reduction and addressing climate change or climate crises, as many of them are trying to put it, we really need an acceleration of energy efficiency, and not just by 20 or 30%, really by 5 to 10x, and that takes a lot. Can we really get there? We saw even Bernie's plan talked about a $16 trillion investment to a new clean energy economy by like 2030. Right? Is that even possible from a technology standpoint to scale things like storage and renewables, to that effort in that short of a time frame? But science is telling us that we need to make significant improvements by 2030 in order to really stop climate change. What we did is go through a lot of what we're doing today, what should we be doing in the future, ranking and rating. There were really 4 groups that were working really hard at this. A lot of interesting ideas came out of it. In the end, each of the 4 groups had about 2 main kind of big ideas, things that could move the needle on accelerating energy efficiency, and we voted on our top 3. And then a couple of them actually kind of fit together or could work hand in hand. So I just thought I'd kind of hit these. It might be interesting to viewers to find out what are some of maybe the big ideas. All right, and there's a lot more data around all these. I'm just staying at a really high level. But the first one was, if we're really looking at decarbonization, all of the policies and regulatory that's part of the energy efficiency resource standards that are present in about somewhere between 25 and 30 states today are based more on kilowatt hours, right? And maybe we need to change that regulatory policy into being more carbon aware. So really fixing the policies that also will fund the ability to go 5 or 10x what we're doing now, to really do that significant decarbonization. This was combined with another idea that had the same kind of policy angle, but talked it more from a specific electrification pathway for beneficial electrification, electric vehicles, and such that need to happen. So number one kind of idea, I think that's got the most votes. We need to lay the groundwork, the foundation for the policies to actually be able to make this happen and fund it. Number two, a lot of work around communities and cities. We've seen 407 cities sign a document that signs up for their city continuing to meet the Paris Accord agreements and goals, but there isn't anything that kind of, where's the follow through? So the idea here was to put together kind of a toolkit of programs and ideas that help these local communities, part of those 407 mayors of those cities, that help them actually make the programs and create action to begin to reduce carbon in cities that amount to over 70 million Americans. This was part of two different ideas. One was more specific to commercial industrial, and the other one was more about supporting those local communities. So it was really this local effort. People are stepping up in a local way and making something happen. The third idea was about making a frictionless type process for manufacturers to be able to sell high efficient equipment, to stock and promote and sell at a bigger level, like a national mid or upstream program, where they didn't have to worry about the 200 different program ideas, program forms, program changes, incentive levels, everything else. There are some barriers to all three of these, all right? It's not perfect, but that's why in coming together and figuring out what the big ideas are, how can we address these challenges or barriers, hurdles, to be able to make something happen at a level that's 5 or 10x. And by putting that out there, and this big audacious goal, you really have to come up with these ideas and not sit back and say, we can't do that because. So interesting process, love being part of it, very fortunate to be part of it with this esteemed group of people, of experts across the country. Love being in that room with them, and look forward to continuing to work to push some of these ideas forward and get some action around our industry to support the decarbonization of energy. All right, mentor topic for the week. Read an article, and I'll put the link to the article, Harvard Business Review. And it was entitled, "Are you pursuing your vision of career success or someone else's?" This is under the title of Work-Life Balance. I probably said this before in one of his video updates, but I just don't like when we try to separate work and life. Because work is life, right? It's like we're answering the wrong question. But that's for another video. This one here really talked about what consonance is, and I have that in the top right. Consonance is when what you do matches who you are or who you want to be. That kind of simpatico, right? Where things fit together and you feel excited and energized by the work you're doing and the place that you're working and the people you work with. This author really puts it into 4 main categories. First is calling. Are you part of this goal that's larger than yourself? Is there a leader there who inspires you, or a societal ill that you wish to remedy? The second item is about connection. How your everyday work is connected to that calling and solving the problem at hand. Third is contribution. That you understand how the job and what you do every day connects to that calling. You have a role and you're contributing to the success of your department, your division, your company, or to that overall idea of, and like in our case in this industry, energy efficiency. Are we making a contribution to the bigger picture? And lastly, you have some control. You feel like you can lay out your job and what you do every day, and it's more in your control to deliver on those expectations that your boss or your company has of you. Putting those 4 things together and really knowing who you are, what makes you happy, what are your strengths, where you can really contribute to your organization, will make this pursuit of a career more enjoyable. Because too many people got the degree their parents wanted them to, that first job that their professor said would be great, took that first promotion that everyone said you needed to do. Meanwhile, you're unhappy with what you're doing. Think back and understand what makes you happy, and these 4 are a great way to kind of live through that. And we are in a great industry, and energy efficiency is growing, and it's exciting, and it helps society. I hope you found your place and are excited about bringing your strengths every day. Nice to see you again. Until next time, have a good one.